Good morning, welcome to Headline Focus, here live on Core Politics with me, Rob Double. It is Monday the 16th of July 2018. Let's have a look at what's making the political news today. And to start off with, this is probably going to be leading the political agenda for most of today. It seems to be in the news, on the top of the news headlines at the moment. Justine Greening, former Education Secretary and prominent Remainer within the Conservative Party, has publicly said and called for a second referendum. Now, she said Theresa May, the Prime Minister's Brexit plan, is the worst of both worlds. And in her piece for The Times, which she really is, which has started all of this news, she said, "Leavers are right. This deal is a fudge I can't support." Now, because of this whole idea of the worst of both worlds, it's making sure, well, the Remainers aren't happy about it in terms of what it's achieving. The Brexiteers within the Conservative Party aren't happy about it because of what it achieves. So the real question that Justine Greening seems to be asking is, what's the point if no one's going to be happy by the outcome? Now, Amber Rudd and Dominic Grieve are also reportedly expected to weigh in over the coming days as well, which has led some to speculate whether this is a potentially planned bit of exercise by the Remain side of the Conservative Party to try and put more pressure on the Prime Minister to change her Brexit stance, or perhaps even a bit of a plan to undo the referendum result itself. Now, the choice in terms of this second referendum Justine Greening is asking for is either, in terms of what you would get on a ballot paper, to take the Prime Minister's deal, so in other words, the Chequers plan on Brexit, to go for a no-deal Brexit, or, and this is the most important one, to scrap the whole project and stay in the EU. So a clear option there to actually cancelling Brexit altogether. And this where the suspicion comes in that actually this is part of a wider plan which has been orchestrated amongst those in politics or of the Remain side to push for a situation where it's possible for Brexit actually to be cancelled altogether. Now, in terms of other support in the Conservative Party, Prime Minister Theresa May also suffered another resignation from a junior ministerial position. That's Robert Courts, who was David Cameron's successor as MP for Witney. He resigned his post within a junior ministerial position. But again, this highlights the absolute political turmoil, one would say, but certainly instability in the Conservative Party over Brexit, really now coming to the forefront, and really people are having to make up their minds and make their positions known as to where they stand on Brexit. Certainly expect some more lines on this and the reaction to Justine Greening's announcement just there. Next up, the government is on a big vote today in terms of Brexit in Westminster as well. The Customs Bill returns to the Commons for its final stages. It's actually called the Taxation Cross-Border Trade Bill. Now, in terms of rebellions and amendments, the key things, there's 4 amendments from the European Research Group, the ERG, which is the big influential conservative Eurosceptic research body. It laid 4 amendments to the custom bill, which reports say taken together would effectively render the Chequers plan completely useless. They're likely not going to pass. In fact, they're almost certainly not going to pass because Labour's not going to back any of them. But in terms of the Tory rebels and rebellions, what today will show, in terms of the amount of people who will rebel against this customs bill, it will show the number of Conservative MPs who are willing to rebel against the government and to rebel against the Chequers plan. And those numbers could actually be very, very significant in indicating whether the Prime Minister is going to be successful in achieving her vision of Brexit. Now, the final vote on the bill's third reading is to be about after 10 o'clock this evening, so pretty late stuff. Labour MPs are certain to vote against the government, and that's important because Theresa May is then totally dependent on her own MPs to get the bill through and to ensure the government doesn't suffer a defeat. Now, the ERG, the European Research Group, whilst tabling these amendments, have also said that they're not going to vote against the third reading of the bill. Jacob Rees-Mogg made that clear. However, it only takes, and this is the important bit, because of this, the fact that the numbers don't really add up, it will only take a few MPs to be absent or a few MPs to be particularly annoyed with the Prime Minister and the government and to vote against for there to actually be a government defeat here on a Brexit bill. So really important stuff. One thing you should also look out for as well is that David Davis, the former Brexit Secretary, is expected to make his resignation speech from the backbenches during this debate on the customs bill today, and certainly that might create some significant news lines in terms of his mood as to why he resigned and the actual position of the government in terms of Brexit as well. So definitely look out for that. Finally, now, Donald Trump, President of the United States, has finished his tour of the UK and all the headlines that came with it over the weekend. He's now over to Helsinki to meet President Putin of Russia, saying he has low expectations to discuss the US elections, Syria, Ukraine, a number of other things. No one really knows what's going to come of this talks and what's going to be agreed or what actually is going to happen. But certainly this is going to be very, very, very prominent in the newsfeed as well. What he also said, though, which is in the UK perspective very significant, is that the European Union is a foe to the US. Now, in exact quotes, he said, "I think the European Union is a foe, what they want to do to us in trade." Now, you wouldn't think of the European Union, but they are a foe. So particularly focusing on trade here, he told CBS News at his golf course resort in Scotland. This is at the same time that Theresa May, Prime Minister, revealed yesterday on the Andrew Marr show that Donald Trump had actually told her to sue the EU rather than to actually begin negotiations with the EU. And that was the big advice that he put forward to her, which he mentioned when he was over here in the UK about giving her advice, which she didn't take up. That was the big news line. Theresa May getting her own back to some extent of revealing something that President Trump said, which was going to get headlines after President Trump made all of those interviews to the Sun newspaper, which was quite damaging, or rather diplomatically difficult for Theresa May during the visit. That's pretty much it for today. You're up to date. Don't forget you can find all the latest on what we're doing here on Core Politics on our Facebook page and Twitter right here. We've got another Meet the MPs coming out later on this evening around about 8 o'clock, so don't forget to check that out. That's a pretty good one, actually, this today. But from me and all the team here at Core London, we're back again on Wednesday at around about 9 o'clock. See you then.